Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Hard Count podcast. And today we're going to be going over my Week 6 waiver wire pickups for fantasy football. We just finished up a very exciting Week 5. And I've got some guys that you need to pick up for your fantasy teams. Let's get right into it. I've got 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and a quarterback stream of the week for you guys today. So let's get right into it with my first running back, and that is Alexander Mattison, the hottest commodity this week on the waiver wires is Alexander Mattison. Why? Because Dalvin Cook left Sunday night's game against Seattle with a groin injury in the third quarter. Really opened the door for Mattison, who finished with 3 receptions, 136 total yards. It was a very impressive performance from him. And some people may already have Mattison as a handcuffed Cook, or you just drafted Mattison with the possibility of a contract holdout or a Cook injury. If you did, well then good for you. But if not, this is your time to go snag him. This is the moment we waited for. Dalvin Cook is not going to be out for too much time. However, we do have 1 week at least that is likely Mattison will be the starter. So why should you pick up Mattison if it's only 1 week? Why would you spend your time on picking him up? Because in that 1 week, Mattison will be an RB1 for your team, something that you do not find on those waiver wires too often. The Vikings are going to be playing the Falcons this week. I expect them to be up in that game. It's going to be a favorable game script for Mattison. Pick him up, start him this coming week. I'm not going to spend too much because it's only going to be 1, maybe 2 weeks where we're going to have Mattison with that RB1 production. I'll be willing to spend about 5% of my free agency bid on Alexander Mattison. So yeah, next we've got Chase Edmonds of the Arizona Cardinals. There are not too many running back pickups this week, but I think it's the time to start picking up Chase Edmonds. We know Kenyon Drake has been a bust this year for fantasy owners, but why? Because of this guy right here. And, Drake is still definitely out-touching Edmonds, but Edmonds, despite only getting 8 carries, racked up 20 fantasy points this past Sunday. Edmonds has been much more of an efficient back, and I expect his role to continue to increase in this offense as Drake's is going to continue to decrease. I think a lot of fantasy owners are starting to bail on Drake, and for good reason. This is not too much of an urgent move. As I said, the running back market this week is not super competitive, but I think that we're looking at a guy that should be more and more owned in all league sizes in Chase Edmonds. This is a plan for the future move if you're picking him up. Drake is still, for now, the premier back in Arizona, but as we saw just 1 year ago with the benching of David Johnson, Arizona's committed to nobody. Edmonds could take over that backfield over Drake if he continues to be more efficient. So right now, he's not a guy that you're really going to want to start, but a guy that you can stash on your bench for the future. If he continues to get touches, if he continues to be efficient, I expect his role to increase. I wouldn't spend too much, maybe 2-3% of my free agency bid on Edmonds right now. A guy definitely worth stashing for the future. You can likely get him on the cheap. Next and third for our final running back is Damien Harris of the New England Patriots. Going back to last week, my substitute host Evan into Sports told you guys to pick up Damien Harris as a depth pick in deeper leagues. And we still have not seen how this backfield's touches are going to play out because we know that the Broncos-Patriots game was moved, but Sony Michel is on injured reserve, meaning the majority of those backfield carries will end up going to Damien Harris, and he showed what he could do with it week 4. He put up 100 yards on the ground. That was very promising to see, and Harris is definitely not going to be a guy that you want to pick up as much in PPR leagues as you would want in standard leagues. They have James White, they have Rex Burkhead, who are going to get touches in the receiving game much more frequently than Harris will. So he's more valuable in standard leagues. Keep that in mind. Again, this is similar to the Chase Edmonds, not super urgent. He's a guy that you're going to want to pick up if you're in a deeper league, maybe stash on your bench, see how the touches play out in New England. And I'd be willing to spend about 1-3% of my free agency bid right now on Harris. Again, not an urgent pickup, but definitely a guy worth a look at if you are in a deeper league. Next, we move on to 4 wide receivers. And a couple weeks ago, I told you it was Rookie Central. We're back to Rookie Central. We're starting off with our first rookie in Chase Claypool of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we're going to go grab some more rookies this week, as I just said. And this is a surprise. There's those guys that we knew were going to be good. CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy. But we didn't know about Chase Claypool going into the year. Last week we saw him catch 7 balls, 110 yards, 4 touchdowns, put up a 40-plus point performance. He was the rookie of the week, no doubt about it. Honestly, the fantasy player of the week. It was a very great performance from Claypool. He took advantage of the fact that Deontay Johnson went down with a back injury, and Deontay Johnson has had some injury issues this year. And so Claypool, that's good news for Claypool, obviously not for Deontay Johnson. But I have loved what I've seen from Claypool in these first couple weeks. Last week, we really saw him be able to win on the outside against number 1 corners, number 2 corners. It was very, very impressive. I like to see that quite a bit. So I expect, similar to the guys before, I expect Claypool's role in the Steelers offense, which is looking better and better. They dropped quite a bit on an Eagles defense that has not been terrible this year. So that was a very impressive performance. I don't think you're not going to bank on 40 every week from Chase Claypool, obviously, but certainly worth a stash on your bench this week. He's got week-to-week upside, potential flex play every week, especially if Deontay Johnson is out, and he's a guy that's going to be playing in that wide receiver 2 role for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'd be comfortable spending 10 to 15% of my remaining free agency bid on him. Do not look to overspend there. There's a lot of talent in that Steelers wide receiver room, but he looks to be like a borderline start every week for Chase Claypool. Next, we've got not a rookie wide receiver, Mike Williams of the Los Angeles Chargers. What a game we saw last night with the Chargers and the Saints. That was a very impressive performance. I thought that Mike Williams had the game-icing catch there for the Chargers to hit a field goal. Turned out not. He could be the number 1 receiver for the Chargers after their bye in Week 6, depending on if Keenan Allen comes back, as he got injured partway through that game for the Chargers. So if he's not, Williams will be that number 1 receiver in Week 7. But Williams stepped up in that game, 5 catches, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. It was very, very impressive. And Justin Herbert, oftentimes we know that wide receivers' fantasy production often correlates quite a bit to the quarterback that is throwing to them, and Justin Herbert is playing very, very well. My concern for the Chargers receivers going into the year, why I told you not to draft Keenan Allen, which is clearly not looking great right now, was because I was concerned with the passing offense because of Tyrod Taylor. And right now, it is not a concern whatsoever with Justin Herbert. He's a big-time throw machine. Mike Williams will have a shot at a big play touchdown every single week, and that's a shot that you want. Gives him more upside. So we saw what Mike Williams could do with that wide receiver 1 role. Would not be surprised if the Chargers start bringing Williams more in the offense. Allen will return after the bye, most likely. But with that way that offense is playing, with the amount of targets that are going around from Herbert, the big plays that are going to be dished around, Williams is a borderline flex play every single week with a lot of big play upside. So do not overspend. Do not overreact to what we saw last night. Keenan Allen will be back. He will be the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. But this is a fun offense. It's a good offense. I'd be willing to pay about 5 to 10% of my free agency bid for Mike Williams. Next, we've got another rookie wide receiver in Henry Ruggs III. Another rookie. This past week, we were all shown why the Raiders drafted Henry Ruggs, and this was because of his big play ability. I can expect Ruggs to be much more valuable going forward due to the fact that we finally saw Derek Carr pushing the ball down the field on deep passes. Now, do not get caught up too much in last week's fantasy performance. He had a big week, I know, but he only had 2 receptions on 3 targets. Not the best, and I think this is what we can expect from Ruggs going forward. I think that's what we expected going into the year. Not a guy that's going to be relying on 8 receptions, but Henry Ruggs is not a guy, he doesn't need those 8 receptions to be productive. Right now, DK Metcalf is the wide receiver 2, and he's averaging just above 4 receptions per game because of that big playability. Henry Ruggs has that big playability as well. He's not going to get those elite reception numbers, but he still can be viable. So thus, he's going to be more valuable in standard leagues over PPR leagues because he's got that high upside and is not going to be getting all the targets, but he certainly will be getting the yards. He can be played as a wide receiver 3 right now, week-to-week upside, very high upside sometimes. Spend 5% of your free agency bid on Henry Ruggs. Next, we've got our final wide receiver and another rookie, Laviska Shenault Jr. He's looking great for the Jaguars as he's the final wide receiver on this list. His targets looked like this. 4 targets in both week 1 and 2, 6 in week 3 and 4, 8 last week. So if we do the math, 8 should be what he's getting this week. Shenault is getting more and more utilized in this offense, as shown by his targets have gone up every single week. Great consistency. He's owned right now by 30% of leagues. This should definitely go up. He definitely offers a nice floor, especially for every week, especially in PPR leagues and he also gets a nice matchup with the Lions this week. Going forward, Shenault is a wide receiver 3 flex play that, again, offers a safe floor in PPR leagues. We can rely on the targets being there. In an offense where Minshew doesn't love to go deep, he's going to get the ball safely to Laviska Shenault multiple times throughout the game. I right now be willing to spend about 15% of my free agency bid on a guy like Shenault, whose role is ever increasing in a Jaguars offense. All right, so those are my running backs and wide receivers. It is time for our QB stream of the week, and that is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Last week, it was Gardner Minshew. Now we got Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick has been great, very under the radar. Quarterback 7 on the year. I don't think anyone would have predicted that. Right now, he's averaged in the past 4 games 29 fantasy points per game and 6-point touchdowns, 24 in 4-point passing touchdowns, and week 1 he had 4. So those averages, still he'd be higher than QB7. So this offense looks explosive of the Dolphins. So yeah, thanks more for listening, everyone. Thank you for listening to my week 6 waiver wire pickups. Until next time, peace.